Are they going to vote for a justice who will steal our ability to govern ourselves by wrongly taking up power that the judiciary doesn't have, which is to legislate from the bench as opposed to apply the law? Next up, we have the results of the president's search for the Supreme Court nominee to fill the slot of Justice Stephen Breyer, who is retiring. He has nominated Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is a appellate court judge in Washington, D.C. She had been a district court judge before that. And prior to that, she was essentially a left-wing lawyer, an activist lawyer. So he has kowtowed to his radical extremist base and nominated a judicial activist. Now, I could go through her records and all of her record on the court and her record outside the court, but she's a judicial activist. She's a left-wing judicial activist who will likely reliably vote for judicial decisions by the Supreme Court that are more about legislating from the bench as opposed to applying the law and fairly applying the Constitution of the United States. So that's the concern, and that should be the concern that the Senate has as they consider her nomination. They should be prepared to reject her nomination if my analysis here bears it out. But also disturbingly, her nomination is the result of a unprecedented, at least in the modern era, decision by Joe Biden to engage in sex and race discrimination in selecting his nominee to the court. He made it clear he was only going to appoint a Black female to the bench. And so that resulted in Black males being refused consideration, white males being refused consideration, white females being refused consideration, Asian females being refused consideration. So we have this unprecedented abuse of authority by the president. Whether it's legal or not, I think it's an open question. Certainly it's immoral, unethical, and anti-constitutional to select a justice for the highest court in the land. So you have this, what I call a CRT approach to the Supreme Court nomination process that almost necessarily required discrimination by those involved. So what the Senate in the least should do is investigate what Biden did here. Did he, using government resources, engage in race and sex discrimination? That should be the subject of a Senate investigation and should be clarified before Jackson is allowed to even get a vote. Now, the Republicans are going to be hesitant to do that, right? Because that's hard work. And they might be called bad words by the dishonest left that engages in race and sex discrimination. And then when someone complains about it, call you a racist and a sexist for complaining about it. They're already doing that. But I'm not going to back down. And if you're concerned about this issue, you need to call your senators at 202-224-3121 and explain what you think what the Senate should do. And I'm of the position that the sort of justice that the left would demand from Biden can't be on the Supreme Court. That's my personal view. Now, the Senate's got to make their own decision there, but don't let them fool you that that this does not have consequences. Are they going to vote for a justice who will steal our ability to govern ourselves by wrongly taking up power that the judiciary doesn't have, which is to legislate from the bench as opposed to apply the law? So these are serious issues. And the Republicans also don't want you to know that, technically speaking, they can practically make it impossible for President Biden to get his Supreme Court nominee through. How would that work? I'll give you the detail as best I understand it. Because the Senate is 50-50, under Senate rules, the committee can only move the nominee out, the Judiciary Committee, with a majority vote of the people there. So if the committee is split in half, which it is currently, they can't move the nominee out. And in order for the nominee to be moved and considered to the floor, they would need 67 votes. So when they tell you a majority vote could get her appointed, that's not necessarily true. Because if the Republicans are opponents of this nominee, because there could be Democrats who don't like her, stand together and refuse to move her out of committee, and at least give the majority to the committee to move her out, it would trigger this 67 vote requirement. Big deal, huh? So there are going to be some who tell you that there's nothing you can do. We could use this opportunity to educate as opposed to protect the court and protect our system from judicial activism. And I can tell you that if the Republicans had their act together, and if there were some Democrats like Joe Manchin or others who might oppose her, she could be stopped. So I encourage you to, again, repeatedly communicate with your senators about what your views are. And also communicate with Mitch McConnell's office about what your views are. So you should call your home state senators, and you should call Mitch McConnell's office because he's the leader of the Republicans. And I think Chairman Grassley is the current Judiciary Committee chairman, so call his office. So, call around, let your views be known. But it's only the Constitution. So I kind of think it's important, don't you? So you can bet that Judicial Watch will be educating the public and the Senate about the dangers of judicial activism. And I think it would be the more people who call to let their views be heard, the better, because you can bet the left is going to be organizing, and you can bet they will be calling. So you should have your views heard as well by the United States Senate.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.